Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sea Lions Foundation, another one of our informative sessions. A lot of people have a lot of questions, and we have a lot of answers. There's a lot going on here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your lives to ask the questions and to listen to the answers. Right? There's several things I'm going to go over tonight. We're going to do this in brief sessions, and in each one will be a separate video that we'll put up on the website. Okay. What I want to address right now is why it feels like the end of the world, but it really isn't, because it's not. Okay? Apocalypse fever is gripping much of the world. The Protestants are waiting for the rapture. The Catholics are waiting for, the papal tombs under the Vatican to all get used up, and then no more popes means no more church, means the end of the world, right? The Muslims are waiting for the Mahdi to come up out of that well he went into all those years ago. Almost everybody is expecting the end of the world. Okay? And when I say apocalypse fever, I mean the attitude that planning is pretty pointless. There's no long term, so make short-term decisions without worrying about the long term, because it won't happen anyway. It's not just believing that the end is near. Apocalypse fever involves hoping that the end is near, so I don't have to worry about this long-term stuff. Okay? I don't have to deal with it. Okay? Now, the perception that something bad of epic proportions is impending is accurate, but not the end of the world. I can tell you what's going on, I can tell you how bad it is, and after a bit of explanation, I'll give you some hope. Okay? There's a great deal of emotional energy being poured into the end of the world. Here's what I mean. It used to be, people thought very long term, thinking about what their grandkids and great-grandkids might be, how they would live, and what they themselves might do to move the family in good directions so that those grandkids and great-grandkids could have, a future of whatever quality. The idea was that a family was more than dad, mom, and kids. A family to them started way back in the mists of history and should go on until the end of time. If a family failed to go on, it was a failure as a family. Right? That definition still applies. Look around you. You see families failing all the time. The most basic evolutionary thing, and this is incredible. The idea of evolution, that we're just animals, has been used to destroy families. And yet families are what ensures your evolutionary success, that you live to reproduce offspring and they live to reproduce offspring. Kids that are raised in failing families don't have kids. Or if they manage to have a kid or two, those kids don't have kids. Family lines that are dysfunctional die out pretty quick without having more kids. I was about to say without issue, but nobody knows what that means anymore. Today, people are getting the feeling that all is lost. Things are about to end. The feeling that things are about to end is accurate. Great and valuable things are about to end, and billions of lives will be lost. Civilization will not survive the 21st century. It won't. Right? However, the feeling that all is lost is not an accurate sense of impending doom. It's the feeling that results from a decision to give up. That's where the feeling comes from. You decide to give up. Many people can see that things are about to end, but they don't feel that all is lost because they haven't given up. So it's easy to give up. Don't feel bad if you've given up. Just pick yourself up and get moving, so to speak. And we'll help. And all is not lost. There is no reason to give up. Okay? There's just a reason to change direction. That's what we're here for. Here's why so many people are getting the feeling that things are coming to an end. Our subconscious, deep in our little hindbrains, is very good at threat assessment, and it forgets nothing. Every news article you hear that contains facts that point to a threat is factored in. Every conversation, everything you see, hear, or read, that is all taken in by your subconscious and measured for threat assessment. Matter of fact, the main reason that people get neurotic or screwy is because something has happened to damage their subconscious and make it hypersensitive to certain kinds of threats, so they act weird. Right? Here's what your subconscious has realized. Given the structure of our civilization, the obvious mental illness of our political, social, and religious leaders, and the evidence showing that refusal to clean up the mess has poisoned the world past the point of no return, two things are quite clear. One, we've passed the carrying capacity of the planet. There are more people than this planet can support. And no matter how it comes about, our population is going to drop drastically to somewhere below the planet's carrying capacity. That's going to happen. We don't need World War III or, germ cooked up in a lab. It's already happening. Two, we've damaged the world. We've reduced the world's carrying capacity to the point that it's well below a given people, given all these factors I just mentioned. Now, some may argue, well, the planet could carry 1 billion people. You know what? If society were sane, it could carry 10 or 20 billion. Society isn't sane. I was on a research project more years ago than I care to think about, calculating what is the carrying capacity of this planet. How many people could it feed? And we just found out how many arable acres there were. We didn't use semi-arable land or desert, which we could water all of that and grow crops on it, right? We just used the arable land. We didn't even count in farming the oceans, okay? And calculated this world could feed 24 billion people without farming the oceans and without watering the deserts. Right? It can't do that anymore. The ecosphere on which our lives depend has been too badly damaged. It can't, it's not going to carry what it used to, right? Any of you could name several things this society does that a sane society wouldn't do. You could also name things that this society doesn't do that a sane society would do. It's an insane society. I'm not going to try to prove that point, because each of you have your own list of things where this society is just nuts. Right? So there's no point in even discussing it. We all know it's true. There are several reasons why society is doomed, and there's not a dang thing anyone can do about it. And by society, I mean anywhere on the planet where water or electricity is provided by a utility, or where any government is complex enough to need paper. That's what I mean by civilization. Okay? I'm talking about hitting the global reset button. The only question is whether it will happen suddenly, which is possible. World War III, right? They're working hard on doing something like that over Ukraine right now. Stupidest argument in the world, right? Or it could be a slow grinding process that leaves everyone who survives it wondering, what went wrong? At any step in the way, they could have solved this. And the answer is, yeah, if civilization were sane, we could have done that. Yeah. The end of civilization is what everyone is sensing. That's the doomsday that's lingering on the edges of our consciousness. Not the end of humanity or the end of the world. The end of civilization, this civilization, and the destruction of more than 90% of the lives on this planet by the end of this century. Remember the history on this planet, all right? Mankind is only so smart, right? Typically, a civilization gets between about 1,500 and 3,000 years. Once it's risen to the point where it's recognizable, which for us would be ancient Assyria about 3,000 years ago, okay? Then it gets about 3,000 years, and then civilization collapses. Everybody goes back to subsistence agriculture, and the next civilization grows out of that, right? We're right up on that 3,000 year mark, folks. We might stretch it out to 32, 3,500. Yeah, not much further than that. Okay, I'm counting our civilization as beginning with the Great Bronze Age collapse between like 1200 and 1000 BC, when all those huge empires just imploded. Okay, that's when our civilization began. After that, okay. The collapse of civilization is inevitable. It is already happening. And your main concern, if you're sane, is to get your family line through it and out the other side sanely and reasonably healthy. Now, if you say, well, civilization is collapsing, so I'm going to eat, drink, and be merry, good, go do that. Why are you here? We don't have eat, drink, and be merry to offer. Eh? We do eat, drink, and be merry, but not to the point that we're using it to just forget about the fact that the world is ending. Right? This will not be easy. Fortunately, if you listen to me, you'll find that it is rather simple. But remember, easy and simple rarely go together. Right? I'm going to give you the top 10 reasons why this civilization is doomed. I'm not going into any detail. If you want detail, just gargle the ones on which you want more info. Question? Gargle? Google. Yeah, I will never treat them with respect. They're evil people doing evil things, and their corporate motto is "Don't be evil," to disguise the fact that they're evil people doing evil things. No, I will never. No. I'll always say gargle or something even nastier. No, when I say gargle it, I mean Google it. Okay. Tim, can we do this like a Letterman top 10 list? Legally, you think we'll get in trouble? Give it a shot. Oh yeah, we can use the parody clause on copyright. Okay, you can add the titles. All right, good. All right, top 10 reasons why civilization is doomed by the end of the century. Number 10, rule by psychopath. Our civilization has created this unique structure. Used to be, if you were going to be in charge of anything, basically you inherited it, or you went out and conquered it with weapons. Those are the only two ways to get in charge of anything. Now we've created these governments and corporations where the guy in charge can be replaced by someone else who maneuvered to become the new guy in charge. Right? And when you get in charge of one of these corporations, these pyramid-shaped organizations, like a corporation or a government, where there's just a few people at the top and lots of people at the bottom, right? That's what I mean by pyramid-shaped. When you get control of one of these, you can use the power you've just gained to hide all the crimes you committed to get there. So these pyramid power structures we've created in this civilization, and they're unique to us, right? In which the leader can be replaced. The pyramid power structure isn't unique. What's unique is that the leaders can be ousted and replaced, right? And there's even mechanisms for that, okay? That's created psychopath magnets, where every psycho in the world wants to be in charge of a corporation or a government, and all he's got to do is commit enough crimes to get there and get away with them, right? Just by building civilization that way, and that's only in the last 250 years that we've started doing that, okay? It's doomed. Psychopaths do not nurture the people under them and help them grow. Believe it or not, many of the monarchs throughout history, not all of them, not even half of them, but many, have seen it as their business to nurture their nation so that the people grew and were healthier and better off than when the guy took the throne for the first time. To find one of these psychopaths that's in charge of one of our governments or corporations who thinks that way? No. Nope. Buddy, I love you, but I'm doing a lecture right now. This is my buddy. He likes to hang out on my speaker cabinet, and sometimes he reaches out and says hello. Number nine reason why civilization is doomed by the end of the century. Dioxin in every breast. Every woman who submits a sample of her breast milk for testing, we find dioxin in it. There are very few chemicals more poisonous than dioxin. And some people say, well, exactly what problems does dioxin cause? And why aren't we seeing more of those problems? The answer is, we're seeing society get sicker and sicker and sicker, and the diseases that we have are less and less and less curable. We've reached a point where 1 in 2 Americans will get cancer in their lifetime, 1 in 3 will die from it. Right? When I was a kid, when somebody had a dog and it got old, it died of old age. Now, 1 out of 2 dogs dies of cancer. The world is getting sicker because of the poisons we're putting into it. Dioxin, I'm offering that to you as simply an example of The one place where all of our biological filters exist to protect has been penetrated by the most subtly evil and powerfully dangerous chemicals. Okay? Civilization is doomed. If you can't nurse your babies with healthy milk, they don't grow up to have more babies of their own. They grow up weak and sickly if they survive at all. Right? And that means every generation gets smaller and smaller and smaller until, by the end of the century, civilization is no more, just like I predicted. And I'm not alone in that prediction. The entire Sea Lions board stands behind me in this. We've worked on this. We've spent time on this. 80 years max. And that's even if we don't have World War III. Right? Yeah. Number 8, mercury in every baby. Mercury is amazingly poisonous, folks. In the list of poisonous stuff, okay, there's mercury, there's barium, and then there's the radioactive stuff. That's how high it is on the list. Okay, it's right under the radioactive stuff and barium. Right? It's a murder weapon, folks. Our civilization in various industrial processes puts about 8,000 tons of mercury vapor into the air every year. This mercury vapor does not fall into the water or the land and just fall down and get reabsorbed. It goes uphill. Right? It gets into the plants and the bacteria and then works its way up to where the animals eat it, and eventually the apex predator eats it, which is us. So now we've reached a point where every newborn baby has detectable levels of mercury in its body. Okay? Detectable levels of mercury means that baby will have fewer children, or is less likely to have children, will have fewer children. If they do have children, those children will be sicklier, and those children will have fewer children. So again, we have smaller and smaller generations until no civilization. Right. Number 6. Wow, my numbering is off here. Okay. Number 6. Played out farmland worldwide. There have to be minerals in the farmland, and the way that nature used to provide for this is the rivers would flood every year, and they'd bring down silt from the mountains, and they would spread that silt all over the fields so that the fields were made rich. And you come in and you get the flooding in the fall and winter, and then you come out and you plant in those fields in spring, and the seeds go, wow, look at all these minerals I have to eat from this stuff that was left over when the river flooded. Yay! And it grows the most amazingly healthy and powerful fruits and vegetables, which then some of those go to the animals, and the animals are big and strong and healthy, and then we eat the fruits and vegetables and the animals, and we're big and healthy. Right? We can prove this. We saw this happen in the medieval warm period. It created the Viking era. Right, now, I don't have time on this one. I'll do a separate video on how it created, how minerals created the Viking era. Yeah, I'll do that one. Okay. But we've dammed up all our rivers. They no longer flood. This hunger to control weather, to control nature, ended up slitting our own throats, because then we go farm in the field, and the plants suck all the minerals out of the field, right? And after, 10, 20, 30, 50 years, there's no minerals left for the plants to bring you. The plant will still grow. It just has almost no nutritional content. And so then we have people living their lives malnourished. Okay? And I'm talking subclinical malnutrition, where you're just feeling really poor. But it's not so bad that you actually have rickets or scurvy, just to name 2 classic malnutrition diseases, right? And of course, when you feel poorly, you're not as energetic, you don't choose quite as well in marriage, you don't get as involved in life, you don't have as many kids, they don't grow up as strong. Have we heard this song before? Yes, that's right. And eventually, end of civilization, because there just weren't enough people to maintain it. Number 7, Fukushima. Ladies and gentlemen, Fukushima, there are 3 reactors there, excuse me. There are 3 reactors there that have melted down. The radioactive pile of uranium and plutonium, whatever is in there, have burned through the concrete containment vessel and down into the ground and into the bedrock. Now, the water flowing down off the mountains through the bedrock, through the water table, is washing over these radioactive cores and out into the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is almost completely dead. Right? Gargle Fukushima, dead Pacific Ocean, right? And learn a little bit. Fukushima is an extinction level event. That doesn't mean it will kill all of us, but it means it could. You know, with the right weather patterns, the right twist of fate, yeah. Fukushima is big enough to kill all of humanity. Okay? And Fukushima is one of the key reasons why at least the northern hemisphere of this planet, guarantee you, as sure as God made little green apples, the northern hemisphere of this planet, once humanity dies off of it in the next 80 years or so, will lie fallow for several hundred years. When I say lie fallow, I mean nobody will plow it, because there won't be anybody living there to plow it. If there is anybody living there, they're going to be at such a low level of technology, they're practically a hunter-gatherer, or they're a shepherd living off a flock. Okay? Fukushima is huge, folks. Now, Fukushima is on the terraformers list of things to do, but we're not going to be able to get to it for a while. For one thing, we can't do anything about it until there are no longer nation states willing to fight over it. I mean, imagine if we showed up today and we said, "Hey, we're gonna clean up Fukushima." The government person in charge would say, "Well, no, I think you're a bunch of terrorists and you just want to get your hands on all that nuclear material." Because that's how they think. They would not let us come in and fix it. So we have to wait until society, civilization has collapsed to the point where there's no government to defend Fukushima, and then we can go in there and clean it up. I know how to do it. It's not even particularly tricky, except for that stupid spent fuel pool, where they. I'm not going to. I'll get angry if I go into that. Anyway, Fukushima can be cleaned up. Okay, I know how to do it. It wouldn't take 2 years, maybe 3, okay? But it can be fixed. Once the cores are pulled out of the bedrock and put in nuclear storage casks that will last, hopefully a few thousand years. Then the northern hemisphere will start to heal. Until then, the amount of poison is simply going to continue to increase. Right? Number 8, depleted uranium. This is one of the results of rule by psychopath. Right? When you have psychos in charge of your society, this is what they do. They refine uranium to where it has 2 kinds of goodies in it. It's got bomb-making uranium, which is U-238, and it's got nuclear reactor fuel, which is not quite as powerful as the bomb stuff, but that's U-235. They take out the U-238, the bomb material, and they call what's left depleted uranium, because they want you to think that this uranium was actually used in a reactor, and it made electricity, and it helped our world. And then it became, it got weak, it got old, and so we made ammunition out of it because it's denser than lead and it'll go through a tank the long way. So why not use it? Well, several reasons. One, it is not depleted. It's fresh, brand spanking new reactor fuel. Okay. 2, when it hits that tank that it's going to go through the long way, one of the fun things it does on that impact is it vaporizes. Okay? So we have uranium vapor poofed into the air every time somebody pulls the trigger on his 30 millimeter cannon on an A-10 Warthog in Iraq. Okay? Over and over and over again. The number of tons of depleted uranium that were spread over Iraq and Kosovo, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Afghanistan, a couple of other countries, okay, is a war crime, folks. The people who write the war crimes laws, they saw this coming. They know that you can't do that. You totally destroy a piece of the world. Gargle Fallujah. Gargle Fallujah, depleted uranium birth defects. And look at the god-awful pictures. Matter of fact, let's make a break here. Tim, when you edit this, I want you to cut right here and put in pictures of the Fallujah birth defects. Okay. All right. Watch this. We're going to show you some of the birth defects that are caused by using depleted uranium ammunition in a country where people live.